reflect on your own learning journey. We spent some time with the technology getting ready to have an interactive learning experience, because we know at Wärtsilä that only when you recognize your own learning objectives, extract your own takeaways, reflect on those takeaways and apply them, will you be able to really start completing a learning journey for yourself. That's why in our pod learning session we'll be going back to those objectives and reflecting on what you did take away from these key points. The key points we covered were simple. We started by asking what makes great communication, and specifically asking the question from those elements: what you say, the words, how you say it, the tone, and what you look like when you say it, the non-verbal element of communication. How much communication is made up of those elements? And the answer is sometimes surprising. It's surprising that when you research it, when scientists look at, well, what is it about communication that really conveys a message, we recognize that actually it's a small slither of our communication that happens from the words themselves. Much more comes from how we say it, in terms of the tone we use and the non-verbal communication we use. And as we mentioned in our session, there is a challenge when it comes to communicating without that non-verbal element, without being face to face or being able to see who you're communicating with. And so when we started looking at what good and bad service means to us in our breakouts, we start to recognize that exceptional service and exceptional communication are the same thing. That great service comes from great communication. That if we're to change our perception in our customers' eyes, if we're to move from a net promoter score of 33 to a net promoter score of 60, then we'll need to shift the way we communicate and recognize that great service is about meeting and exceeding expectations. That when we talk about below average service, what we're actually talking about is not having our expectations met. When we talk about good and exceptional service, what we mean is we have more than what we expected delivered. And if we don't know how people expect us to communicate, if we don't know what their expectations are in terms of their personal, their cultural expectations for communication, we'll find it hard to exceed those. And in an age where customer service is so important to us as a business and to the world generally, to remain competitive, we need to understand our customers' expectations and exceed them. And in order to do that, we have to realize that exceptional service is about having a personal connection, solving real problems, and often doing more than what we have to do, exceeding what's expected of us. In order to do that, we have to understand our customers' worlds. And we started looking at that idea that we all see the world differently from our own unique perspective. We put ourselves in the center of our world when we draw a map of the world. The Americans put themselves at center, the Europeans put themselves at center, the Australians might even put themselves at the center. The point being, we don't see the world as we are, or as it is. We see the world as we are. And why is that important to communication? Well, until we understand how our customers see the world, what are the maps that they're using, we're not able to adapt and connect most effectively. I leave this video with this message because this is the heart of our communication challenge. How do our customers see the world? What's their view of the world? What are they expecting? So if our communication is the net result of not just what we say, but how we say it and how it looks like we're saying it. If that's the case, and if our expectations of communication are just as important as what we're communicating, then we need to understand our customers' expectations. We need to understand their language. And I'll leave you with the words of Nelson Mandela, who said, if you speak to somebody in a language they understand, it goes to their head. But if you speak to them in their own language, it goes to their heart. As we move through this program, we're going to start learning not how to speak the dialects of our customers, but how to speak their emotional language, how to understand their point of view more effectively, and how to understand how their personality and their cultural preferences play into the way we need to communicate with them for maximum effect. I ask you to reflect on that for yourself and start thinking about, how do you see the world, and how's that different to how your customers see the world, and how might that impact the way you communicate with them?